Glad to have you back on our channel. In the 1970s and 1980s, Burt Reynolds was the undisputed king of Hollywood box office dominance, captivating audiences with iconic roles in films like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, and The Longest Yard. However, beneath all the glitter and glamour, Reynolds was a symbol of masculinity and irresistible charisma. Not only was Burt Reynolds a phenomenal actor, but he was also a man rife with inconsistencies, suffering, and deep-seated remorse. From a difficult upbringing to the brilliant peaks of his profession, and finally to the crushing lows of love and money, Burt's life was a roller coaster. Despite his ascent to the heights of fame, he endured a series of devastating defeats. What allowed a guy of Burt Reynolds' strength and resilience to weather such storms? How did he triumph over innumerable obstacles to become a legendary figure beloved by his devoted followers? Burt Reynolds' life is about more than just becoming a movie star. This touching depiction of a man's struggles to find a balance between the highs and lows of Hollywood life invites you on an emotional trip inside Burt Reynolds' world, where the stars and heartbreak intertwine. Life stories that show the resilience of a guy who battled adversity from a young age. The son of Burton and a working-class mother, Burt Reynolds came into this world in Lansing, Michigan, on February 11, 1936. Since Burt's father, Milo, was in the military and eventually became a police chief, the family's emotional support system was his mother, Harriet Fett. Because of his father's job, the Reynolds family moved around a lot, which made Burt's childhood filled with upheaval. Upon the family's arrival in Riviera Beach, Florida, he was deeply affected by the instability he had experienced, which shaped his perseverance and his strong desire to prove himself. In his carefree, tropical youth, Burt discovered a passion for sports and soon became known for his extraordinary talent. Football's brightest star, Burt was a pillar of strength for his high school team as a halfback. He was set to become a professional sports star after earning a scholarship to Florida State University thanks to his remarkable performance. However, fate had other plans for him during one of his first collegiate games. A devastating knee injury put an end to Burt's athletic career. Regrettably, his condition was worsened shortly later in a car accident, which led to his being bedridden for months. Burt must face an unforgiving truth in the depths of despair. His ambition of making it as a professional football player lay broken. In his pursuit of self-discovery, Burt stumbled into an unexpected opportunity. He enrolled in an acting class at Palm Beach Community College, seeing the stage for the first time as more than simply a passing fad. Watson B. Duncan III, Burt's drama instructor, saw his extraordinary skill and pushed him to take acting seriously while he was a student of Duncan's. Burt was a theater actor. He won the Florida State Drama Award for Outward Bound, which left a profound impression. He then received a scholarship to the Hyde Park Playhouse Drama Academy in the Big Apple. This experience catapulted Burt Reynolds from a young guy whose aspirations for athletics were dashed to a promising career in acting. Despite the many obstacles he faced, football star Burt Reynolds demonstrated that anyone can use adversity as fuel to become even more successful. His climb from humble beginnings is emblematic of the perseverance required to overcome adversity. A career in acting that began with stage productions and classes in former football player Burt Reynolds of New York set out on a perilous path to become a household name in the cutthroat entertainment world. After securing a scholarship to the Hyde Park Playhouse Academy, he found himself thrust into the world of film and theater sets, where he had to demonstrate not just talent but also remarkable endurance. Even though Look We've Come Through only ran for 5 performances on Broadway, Burt gained invaluable experience performing in plays like Tea and Sympathy. Producers took notice of Burt shortly after, and he began landing small roles on television in shows like M Squad, Schlitz Playhouse, and Flight, though these were minor roles. An important turning point in Burt's career came in 1959, when he was cast as the lead in the television series. His attractiveness and innate acting abilities made him stand out, leading to a 7-year deal with Universal Studios. His role as Captain Ben Fraser on Riverboat gave him his big screen debut. However, he had problems with his co-star. Burt was forced to leave the show after 20 episodes due to his disagreements with producers and Darren McGavin. This setback stained his resume and made it hard for him to land opportunities in the future, but he refused to give up. By returning to minor parts in hit TV series like Perry Mason, Route 66, and The Twilight Zone in the early 1960s, Burt was able to refine his acting skills and slowly establish himself in the minds of viewers. Burt made his acting debut in 1961's Angel Baby and 1961's Armored Command. He had his greatest success during Operation CIA. From 1965, an action flick made on a shoestring budget that gave its actors invaluable experience for feature films at the time. Burt also looked into spaghetti westerns shot in Spain, such as Navajo Joe, 1966. Burt started to develop the rough and gritty image that would subsequently be associated with the film, even though it did not garner much critical praise. Describe his action hero. Another major turning point in Burt Reynolds' he began his career in the television series playing the character of Quint Asper, a blacksmith. Cast in the lead role of Gunsmoke, he won over the hearts of millions of American fans with his acting chops. From 1962 through 1965, Burt was a regular cast member of the show, a time he affectionately called the happiest years of my life. After 3 years, nevertheless, Burt made the decision to depart Gunsmoke to aim for more substantial film roles. Although it was a hazardous move, it paid off handsomely for his career in the late 60s. Burt kept appearing in a wide range of films. Movies like Shark, 1969, and Sam Whiskey, 1969, didn't do well at the box office, but Burt wasn't deterred. He kept at it, and his name began to grow. In the beginning of his career, Burt Reynolds worked tirelessly to overcome challenges and demonstrate his talent in everything from little parts on Broadway to television appearances and low-budget films. He worked tirelessly to become a household name in the entertainment industry, but he had not yet achieved stardom. With dogged persistence and an unbreakable will, Burt had set himself up for an extraordinary career. When the 1970s rolled around, Burt Reynolds was prepared to take the spotlight as one of Hollywood's biggest stars, launching a successful career. Following years of battling to establish himself, Burt Reynolds entered the 1970s with unfaltering resolve, prepared to conquer Hollywood. The decade was the zenith of his career, confirming his place as an American cinematic icon with unforgettable performances in the films. The 1972 film Deliverance was a watershed moment, winning both audiences and critics with its portrayal of Lewis Medlock, a man with a strong will who faces the terrible forces of nature and humanity. The picture's 3 Oscar nominations solidified Burt's status as a major star in Hollywood, but he didn't rest on his laurels in 1977, when he further solidified his position as a symbol of masculinity and an actor of extraordinary depth and talent. The action comedy King title playing the part of the enigmatic and crafty truck driver Bandit, Smokey, and the Bandit Burt made history with the classic Pontiac Trans while delivering a hilarious performance. Did the picture earn more than $300 million? Becoming an international phenomenon at the box office and inspiring multiple sequels in the action comedy FS, Burt's charismatic personality, and mischievous antics made him an instant star. Global audiences were enthralled with Spirit. Even though Burt Reynolds' career was showing indications of slowing down in the 1980s, he still had a good decade, starring in films like Cannonball. Along with his on-screen triumph, the comedic ensemble piece 1981, Run, which featured a star-studded cast, earned an astonishing $160 million at the box office. Burt took action on his love of the theater by creating in 1979. Burt Reynolds ran a dinner theater in Florida that doubled as a training ground for young actors, giving them opportunities to hone their craft. This showed a different side of Burt, a performer who was committed to both the spotlight and the development of future talent. However, by the 1990s, the star power of Burt diminished as his pictures failed to capture the same level of interest in this setting. Burt was thrust back into the limelight of Hollywood spotlight in the character of Jack in the 1997 revival film Boogie Nights. This adult film producer is quite intricate. This performance, which garnered critical acclaim, an Oscar nomination, and a Golden Globe win for Burt, startled the film industry. It was a demonstration of Burt's adaptability and his readiness to take on challenging parts that demanded nuance and depth of feeling throughout his career. With appearances in more than 90 films and countless television episodes, Burt Reynolds solidified his position as one of Hollywood's greatest stars, leaving behind an extraordinary artistic legacy. In addition to the other honors he has received, he was named an Emmy winner for his work on the television series Evening Shade, 1991 to 1994. Thanks to his charisma, humor, and strength, Burt became a cultural hero, and audiences will always remember him from those unforgettable movie moments. In addition to his acting career, Burt Reynolds was a dedicated artist who dabbled in directing, producing, and even singing on his album, Ask Me What I Am. Although not all of Burt's ventures in the entertainment world were financially successful, he did try his hand at a number of different roles. He never shied away from taking risks or challenging himself creatively, and even in the face of adversity, he kept his characteristic positivity and sense of humor. Burt Reynolds' impact goes far beyond his film career. It's about a man who triumphed against insurmountable odds to follow his dreams, whether that's through the films he was in or the accolades he received. Burt Reynolds was beloved by millions of fans for his work in film, but his achievements speak volumes about his talent, dedication, and bravery in the face of adversity. He is now considered one of Hollywood's immortal legends. While his professional life was a rich tapestry of joys and sorrows, his personal life was a complicated web of mixed emotions. As he met Sally Field for the first time on the Smokey and the Bandit set in 1977, Burt's private life and relationships were turbulent, showing a man who was strong and fragile. From the very beginning of their time together, they enjoyed an indescribable and powerful bond. He was a superstar in the industry, and she was just starting out. Burt freely confessed that he was captivated by Sally's brilliance, talent, and natural beauty, but their passionate love was not without its hurts. Burt's overbearing expectations and belief in his ability to help Sally blossom led him to cast her in roles he thought would be good for her, like Norma Ray, for which she won her first Oscar. But Sally found Burt's control over her to be a burden, and their relationship, despite its love, mirrored the emotional scars from her childhood. Burt even refused to let her attend the 1977 Emmys, where she was honored for her role in Sybil, and they eventually broke up in 1982. In his later years, Burt frequently voiced regret for losing Sally, which he deemed the greatest mistake of his life. My heart was stolen by Sally, and he would never forget her. In addition to his tragic love affair with Sally, Burt had a troubled marriage. His marriage to Judy Kaye, his first wife, the marriage of Logan, a star of Rowan and Martin's comedy, took place in 1963, but the couple's inconsolable disagreements caused their love to fade apart after only 2 years of marriage. Judy leveled accusations of emotional and physical assault against Burt. Burt avoided discussing in public despite the fact that they were very estranged. Despite Judy's challenging latter years, Burt maintained some level of concern for her. In 1988, Burt with Lonnie Anderson for a second time. Their dynamic was different, But their turbulent marriage was no less troublesome. Thanks to their stunning good looks and the tales that circulated about their personal lives together, Burt and Lonnie became the center of attention in the Hollywood media. Their relationship quickly deteriorated due to charges of infidelity and violence, and they adopted a boy named Quentin. However, Burt did not find the peace he had hoped for in fatherhood. Burt accused Lonnie of being violent and domineering, while Lonnie accused Burt of being critical of her lavish lifestyle and emotional. Their separation in 1994 became one of the most publicized divorces in Hollywood history, characterized by protracted court fights over child support and custody despite the difficulties their son was having in his own relationships. Quentin was the object of Burt's undying affection. Burt was pressed by Lonnie to consent to adopt Quentin following their divorce, even though he wasn't prepared to be a father at the time. Quentin was the son he and Lonnie had. Burt often felt guilty for not spending enough time with Quentin, who lived with his mom. Stress on the budget, significant child support payments were among the challenges Burt encountered in his twilight years. Their connection became even more strained, but Burt's love for Quentin remained unwavering, and he sincerely hoped that his son could comprehend his profound concern for him. In spite of his numerous failed relationships, Burt Reynolds' personal life unfolded like a profoundly moving picture, with him as the protagonist, replete with passionate love, devastating loss, and unending sorrow. Burt kept the tender, loving heart he had from his time with Sally, and cherished the bonds they had created. From the tender times of parenting to the lady he had always referred to as his soulmate, filled every happy and sad moment of Burt's life contributed to the legend he became. His wealth and huge failures during his peak of fame. Burt Reynolds exemplified opulence and riches. He was a famous celebrity with a life of luxury that millions lusted for, yet behind his glamorous exterior was a tale of bad choices that backfired. His investments and unbridled spending led him into a deep financial crisis. Problems with the economy in the 70s and 80s. Burt Reynolds was a top earner in Hollywood during his prime, with an annual salary of over $10 million, an astounding sum for that era. But Burt wasn't one to keep his money. He wanted to spend it all. He squandered his fortune on real estate, expensive vehicles, private planes, and a stable of racehorses. He had a 153-acre ranch in Florida, a Beverly Hills house, and a Terra estate in Georgia, all of which were symbols of his riches and flair. His mansions showed his grandeur, but they also became financial strains as a result of maintenance costs being out of hand. Together with his wild spending habits, the Burt dabbled in a number of businesses, investments with the expectation of increasing his wealth. Yet, a number of these ventures ended up becoming huge. Investment in the Pafolk's restaurant chain in the 1980s was one of his worst financial blunders. The idea had promise at first, but the business swiftly collapsed, and Burt lost a lot of money. Many $1 million. In a similar vein, other companies in the late 80s. While his cinematic career was winding down, he dabbled in several unsuccessful ventures, including a high-end restaurant called Daisy's Diner, which cost him tens of millions of dollars. The years 1980 to 1990. Burt had to deal with piling the financial burden of his expensive 1996 divorce from Lonnie Anderson, which included alimony payments and legal obligations, added insult to injury. With obligations totaling more than $10 million, Burt was compelled to file for bankruptcy. His assets, which included property, vehicles, and personal possessions, were valued at $6.65 million in his bankruptcy papers, but his obligations exceeded his assets by a significant margin. In spite of Burt's financial woes, his famed Florida ranch was sold at auction to settle debts. Although he was no longer living in the lap of luxury, Burt Reynolds' characteristic optimism and humor were never dampened by these setbacks. In a self-deprecating statement, he said, "I've lost more money than anyone could imagine, but I have no regrets. The only thing I regret is that I didn't spend more." little creative endeavors, and meaningful relationships brought Burt delight. Before his untimely demise in 2018, he had auctioned off numerous personal possessions, including his Golden Globe trophy and mementos from his acting career, in order to settle his debts and put an end to a turbulent chapter in his life. Burt left behind an estate valued at about £3 million pale in comparison to his past opulence, but he behind an illuminating tale of perseverance and a rich cultural legacy. The work of Burt Reynolds' financial journey is both a cautionary tale about the perils of investing recklessly and an inspiration to persevere through adversity. Throughout his latter years and legacy, Burt kept his wit and joy for life, which made him a legend on film and in the hearts of his admirers. Early and late decades of Burt Reynolds' during this time, things were less hectic but no less meaningful. To take it easy, think about what life has to offer, and once the Hollywood spotlight faded, marking the last reflective moment of a turbulent career during this time, Burt devoted himself to more introspective endeavors that reflected his core beliefs and sense of identity. Burt stepped down from the spotlight and into supporting roles in films, yet his humility offered his talents. The most recent film had a special poignancy as an elderly film star who struggles with obscurity while remembering his past. Star 2017 is an ideal depiction of Burt's final chapter. The performance Burt gave was a reflection of his life. The film felt like a real farewell, a touching tribute to his admirers who had supported him for decades. It was modest but profoundly moving. Burt gave to society in areas other than acting. Burt made an effort to get back in touch with important people in his life. His son Quentin had become an object of his pride and comfort, so he made an effort to spend time with him. Throughout his tenure at the high press, Burt had a hard time finding the rare sense of peace that he experienced in his times with Quentin. Burt had persistent health problems. The after-effects of his injury continued to plague him. Endured over the course of his career, most notably from an accident that began in 1984 on the set of City Heat, and left him with chronic agony that persisted for decades despite his deteriorating health. Even after he stopped being involved with big projects, Burton's love for the craft never faded. He accepted more intimate parts that allowed his age to reveal his authenticity and the range of emotions he had developed. On September 6, 2018, Burt Reynolds passed away at the age of 82 from a heart attack at Florida's Jupiter Medical Center. His deteriorating health over the past several years made his passing all the more shocking and tragic for his legion of admirers, friends, and family. A cultural icon inextricably linked to some of Hollywood's most brilliant decades, Burt was more than just a gifted actor. The impact of Burt Reynolds goes far beyond his film career. His tenacity and determination motivated his co-workers, and he went on to appear in films that would inspire generations to come. Many people spoke highly of him, praising his profound emotionality and the inspiration he offered to those around him. Fans and the artistic community were deeply saddened by his passing. Also taught us that nothing in life is ever perfect. However, it is through the hardships and wounds that life is truly meaningful. The message of Burt's journey is to live life to the fullest, mistakes and all, and to leave an everlasting mark on the world no matter what. The legacy of Mark for Burt Reynolds extends far beyond the parts he played. It is a testament to his unfaltering love and devotion to those he loved. An inspiring tale of perseverance, Burt Reynolds' life was about more than simply his career in Hollywood. Dogged persistence and wisdom gained. What about you? What do you remember most about Burt Reynolds? Is it an iconic role, an inspiring story, or a moment that made you smile? His life was far from perfect, but profoundly meaningful because he dared to take risks, challenge himself, and face failure head-on. His relatability came from his imperfections. Put your 2 cents in the comment section, and give it a like if you agree or disagree. Stay tuned for more Legends-themed stories, by subscribing to our channel. Thank you for watching, and until our next video.